October 23rd, 2077, the day the world ended. In less than 2 hours, civilization collapsed. Cities burned. Governments vanished. Billions died. But the bombs weren't the beginning of the story. They were the end of it. Because long before the missiles fell, humanity had already doomed itself. This is the world of Fallout. Imagine a future where the dreams of the 1950s never faded. Shiny chrome cars glide down the spotless highways, robots cook dinner and vacuum the living room, and nuclear power promises energy that will last forever. This was the promise of the Fallout universe. But beneath the bright advertisements and patriotic slogans, the world was quietly collapsing. Because while technology had advanced beyond imagination, humanity itself had not. The world of Fallout diverges from our own sometime after World War II. In our timeline, the world shifted towards computers and microelectronics, but in Fallout's universe, society remained obsessed with atomic power. Instead of silicon chips and smartphones, the future was built on nuclear reactors and mechanical technology. Miniature nuclear batteries powered everything from cars to children's toys. Robots became common household appliances, and corporations grew into entities more powerful than governments. But this technological progress masked a growing crisis, a crisis that would push the world toward extinction. By the 2050s, the planet was running out of energy. Oil reserves were nearly gone, natural gas supplies were collapsing, and global demand continued to grow. This desperate competition for resources triggered a series of conflicts known as the Resource Wars. Europe and the Middle East fought over the last oil fields. Nations collapsed into economic ruin. The United Nations dissolved, and the fragile balance of global power began to break apart. Humanity had entered an age of desperation, and desperation breeds war. By 2066, the world's two remaining superpowers stood on the edge of conflict, the United States and China. Both nations were starving for energy. Both believed survival depended on controlling the planet's final resources. When China invaded Alaska to seize its vast oil reserves, the inevitable war finally began. The Sino-American War would last more than a decade, and it would reshape the world forever. The war drove humanity to develop some of the most advanced technologies ever created. One of the most important was power armor, massive mechanized suits capable of turning soldiers into unstoppable forces on the battlefield. American troops wearing power armor eventually forced Chinese forces out of Alaska, but the victory came at a terrible cost. Because the war had already pushed the world to its breaking point, food shortages became common. Riots erupted across major cities, governments imposed martial law, and the fear of nuclear annihilation became part of everyday life. As tensions escalated, a powerful corporation stepped forward with a promise of safety: Vault-Tec. Their plan seemed simple: construct hundreds of underground shelters designed to protect the population from nuclear war. These shelters would be known as vaults, each one capable of sustaining human life for generations. To the public, Vault-Tec appeared to be humanity's last hope, but behind closed doors, the truth was far darker. Most vaults were never intended to save humanity. They were designed as experiments. Each vault tested how humans would behave under extreme conditions. Some experiments focused on isolation. Others tested authoritarian leadership. Some forced residents into strange social structures, and some vaults were designed to fail entirely. The people who entered the vaults believed they were escaping the apocalypse. In reality, many were stepping into carefully designed psychological laboratories, and the results of those experiments would shape the wasteland for centuries. Then came the day everything ended. October 23rd, 2077. Without warning, nuclear missiles launched across the globe. Cities were destroyed in seconds. Entire populations vanished in blinding flashes of light. In less than 2 hours, The world that humanity had built over thousands of years was gone. The event became known as the Great War, and even centuries later, one question remains unanswered. Who fired the first missile? When the bombs fell, the planet was transformed. Radiation poisoned the soil, the water, and the air. Animals mutated into terrifying new species. Massive rad scorpions roamed the desert. Giant insects infested ruined cities. And one of the most feared predators of all, the death claw. Humanity was changed as well. Some survivors became ghouls, their bodies scarred by radiation but still alive. Others were transformed into massive creatures known as super mutants, the results of experiments involving the forced evolutionary virus. The world had become something entirely new, a wasteland. Over the next 2 centuries, new civilizations began to rise from the ashes. Some sought to restore order, others sought power. The Brotherhood of Steel dedicated themselves to preserving advanced technology. The new California Republic attempted to rebuild democracy. The Enclave believed they were the rightful rulers of the wasteland and sought to reclaim the planet for themselves. Each faction believed they held the key to humanity's future, but none could escape the same flaw that destroyed the old world: human ambition. Throughout the Fallout series, individuals emerge who changed the course of history: the Vault Dweller, the Chosen One, the Lone Wanderer, the Courier, and the Sole Survivor. Each began as just another person struggling to survive, but their choices shape the fate of entire regions. In Fallout, history isn't written by governments, it's written by the survivors. The world of Fallout is a warning, a reminder that technological progress cannot fix the darker parts of human nature. Because even after the bombs fall, even after civilization collapses, humanity continues to fight for power, for survival, for control, and that is why the story of Fallout always returns to the same truth: war. War never changes. If you enjoyed this deep dive into Fallout lore, subscribe for more stories from the worlds of gaming, because the Wasteland holds countless secrets, and we've only just begun to uncover them.